Okay, so we've got some really interesting stuff to dig into today, and it's a bit worrying too.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's all about social media in 2025, and the picture that emerges from what you sent that over is, well, it's like these platforms are like totally intertwined of our lives now in
Mm,
ways we probably don't even realize. And on the one hand, they connect us, right? That's the whole point.
right.
But your sources also highlight some real tensions, some potential downsides.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's definitely like a double-edged sword thing happening here.
Yeah, so let's unpack this a little bit. What jumped out at you initially when you were looking at all this?
Well, I think when you look at specifically how social media is impacting our relationships in 2025, there's this theme of discord that keeps coming up.
Okay, Discord, how so?
Well, your sources talk about conflict distrust and even like this creation of unrealistic expectations. Because think about it.
Yeah.
We're constantly bombarded with these curated feeds, these highlight reels of everyone else's seemingly perfect lives.
It's like everyone else is living in a rom-com and we're stuck in like a gritty indie drama.
Exactly. And it's easy to start comparing that filtered perfection to the ups and downs, the everyday messiness of your own relationship.
And I imagine that can breed some resentment.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just about envy either.
Okay.
The information you sent also talks about how this constant scrolling, this like being plugged in all the time, can actually kill real communication.
Right. Even when you're physically together, you can be totally disconnected.
Exactly. You and your partner could be in the same room, but mentally miles apart, lost in your phones.
So how does that actually erode things further according to the research you looked at?
Well, the data suggests that this constant divided attention, right, makes it so much harder to have those deeper conversations, the kind that actually build intimacy and understanding. You're
Right.
not fully present. Exactly. And, misunderstandings, they happen so easily in text-based communication.
Oh yeah.
And when you're only half present, you miss all those crucial nonverbal cues, tone of voice, facial expressions, all that.
Yeah, you lose so much context.
It's actually pretty tragic, but some of your sources even indicate a link between heavy social media use and relationship breakdown.
Wow.
And they even talk about how this plays out in child custody cases in single-parent families. So,
It's not just theoretical.
exactly, these are real-world consequences.
It's a lot to think about for sure.
Yeah,
Okay, so shifting gears a bit, let's talk about our inner world, right? What about our mental well-being?
right.
What's the picture your sources paint about social media and how it's affecting that in 2025?
Well, there's some pretty strong links between increased social media use and higher rates of anxiety and depression.
And why is that?
Well, think about it. There's the constant social comparison, right?
Yeah.
Seeing everyone else's perceived successes and happiness, and it's so easy to feel like you're not measuring up. And then there's the fear of missing out, that constant pressure to keep up appearances, to maintain this perfect online persona.
Yeah, and I know that most of what we see online is curated. It's not the full picture.
Exactly. So it's this perfect storm for insecurity and low self-esteem.
And it's not just a general sense of unease, right?
Well,
Your sources specifically mention body image issues becoming a real problem.
yeah, that constant exposure to often heavily edited images of, perfect bodies, it takes a toll, especially on young people.
And here's the thing that I find so interesting. Social media is supposed to connect us, right?
Right.
But your sources also highlight this almost counterintuitive finding that it can actually contribute to feelings of social isolation.
Yeah, it's ironic, isn't it?
Totally. You can have thousands of online friends but still feel incredibly lonely.
Exactly. And I think it raises this crucial question about what real connection, what genuine human interaction actually looks like in this digital age. You know?
Yeah, like are we actually connecting or are we just accruing followers?
Yeah, it's a good question.
So, okay, let's try to pull all this together. It sounds like social media in 2025 is this incredibly powerful force.
Hmm.
It's shaping our relationships, influencing our mental states, and it's clearly a tool that requires a lot of caution.
Absolutely. I think the key takeaway from all of this is that we really need to be mindful about how we engage with these platforms.
Mindful engagement. So, what does that look like in practice?
Well, I think it starts with prioritizing those real-world connections,
Right.
making time for face-to-face interactions, the kind where you're fully present, you can read each other's body language, really connect.
Putting down the phone, being in the moment.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing when our digital habits might be harming our well-being or damaging our closest relationships.
So, a healthy balance.
Yeah, finding that equilibrium is key.
Okay, so just to recap for everyone, what we've learned from all this is that social media in 2025 is having a huge impact on our relationships.
Hmm.
It can lead to conflict communication breakdowns and even affect family structures.
Right.
And on the mental health front, it's linked to increased anxiety, depression, body image issues, and even feelings of isolation.
That's a great summary of the key points.
So here's a final thought for you all to consider. Given how deeply embedded social media is in our lives now, how can we each cultivate healthier digital habits?
Hmm.
Habits that actually enhance our well-being and strengthen those real-world connections instead of pulling us further apart.
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is something to really think about. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It was a great discussion.